Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here, and welcome to another episode of Episode Rundown, where I, Shady Doorags, run down the episodes of Miraculous, Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. And yes, I know it has been forever. The last time I was like, oh, I'm going to try to pump out these Miraculous episode rundowns really fast, and then I took the longest break from it ever. Long story short, there was a bunch of things happening that just made it difficult to record videos in general. But as December has rolled around, it's the flow is starting to pick back up. So these videos should come more frequently. Now, I every time I make that promise, like I take a huge break from making these videos. I don't. Anyway, you probably noticed new recording setup. Very happy with it. The lighting is temporary though. I don't know how long it's going to be here, but I have some plans to change the lighting. But for right now, this is what we're dealing with. Anything that's finicky, I will try to fix as we go along. Because like I said, new setup, so this is all new stuff. Also, it is very hot in here. You're probably going to start seeing me sweating as this video goes on, because I turned off the freaking heater, but it decided to wait and not turn off immediately. But yeah, that's going on. So anyway, Miraculous episode rundown. We are dealing with episode, I don't even know anymore. Desperada. That's the one we're dealing with. Desperada. So the episode starts with Marinette and the band. I forget what the band's name is, but Marinette is hanging out with the band, listening to them practice. And Marinette is getting closer to Luca. And everybody is pointing out what a cute couple they are. And you know, it's all a nice time. And then for once in his freaking life, Adrian decides to show up to practice in the band he's in. Because remember, Adrian is a part of this freaking band. They don't seem to have their costumes anymore. I don't know why that is. Well, probably just because they're practicing. But yeah, Adrian decides to show up, and he comes with none other than Kagami. And I freaking love Kagami. She's still not my favorite. Like, I kind of want Kagami to be my favorite at this point because she is objectively the best character, but she just can't replace my love for Chloe. But Kagami is with Adrian, and I just love that she's on the scene because she immediately becomes aggressive in claiming Adrian. Like, she and Adrian do a little giggling and flirting, and she grabs Adrian by the arm, and she freaking, oh my goodness, this was a bold move. She just out loud says to Marinette,
Nice to see you too, Marinette. Have you come to watch your boyfriend rehearse?
And I absolutely love it. It puts Marinette on the spot so hard, and she really needs to be put on the spot. But unfortunately, the episode doesn't want Marinette to choose just yet, and they get interrupted by Jagged Stone, who is coming to see Julika and Luca's mom. Apparently, they played back in the day, and I think they also said they were a couple. And they might be hinting that Jagged Stone is Julika and Luca's dad, because we haven't seen their dad yet. So that'll be interesting if that's the case. So Jagged Stone comes and he says he wants Luca and Julika's mom to come back into his band and play. And their mom is like, no, you're always horrible to your guitarist. The reason you want me is probably because you fired your guitarist unfairly. And Jagged's like, that's not true. And then he sees Marinette. And he's like, oh, hey, Marinette, the awesome girl who made my shades. And you don't have to establish that every time Jagged Stone is on the scene. Like, they know each other. They're decent acquaintances at this point. He can literally just say, hey, Marinette. And we as the audience should be able to follow. Like, you don't have to reestablish the relationship between every character, every new episode. They did that with Marinette and Adrian earlier too. Like, Alia says she's glad that Marinette can have a conversation with Luca instead of going all babble tongue. And then freaking, I forget her name, is like, oh, you mean like how she does with Adrian? I was like, I didn't need that spelled out for me, show. Anyway, the show continues, and Jagged asks Marinette if she knows anybody who could be his guitarist. I think he might have asked her if she could be his guitarist. And she's like, I don't know anyone. I don't play guitar. And Alia, the best wingman that ever existed in the history of ever, is like, you have a guitarist right here. And Marinette, because Adrian is within a 20-foot radius of her, only focuses on Adrian and says, oh yeah, Adrian can do it because he's the most perfect thing that ever existed. And everybody's like, oh my goodness, she obviously should have chose Luca. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And Jagged even says, well, what about the dude with the guitar right there? And Marinette's like, oh yeah, let's take his guitar and give it to Adrian. That way Adrian can play. Now, to be fair, I do believe Adrian within a couple of days can learn to play guitar, given this kid's repertoire. But yeah, the episode's making it plain that Marinette is clearly just way too over-infatuated with Adrian, which is interesting considering I still feel that the show is going to put them together. Like the show is saying, this is a canon ship. You can't stop it, but we're going to tease you a little bit. Anyway, Desperada jumps on the scene, and it's a breath of fresh air that we don't see her get akumatized. I know we've done that before where we don't exactly see the character get akumatized, but I just like a change up in the formula every now and again. So Desperada jumps up. She looks kind of mimish, and her power is she can reach into her guitar case, pull out an instrument, and use that instrument to capture a person. It's very similar to the Collector with his book, or what was that guy's name? The photographer guy with his camera. And I like the stickers that they have on her base. Somebody got to draw those. I thought that was pretty nifty. Again, like with the Collector. So she comes in, she's like, oh, hey, you trying to replace me? I'm going to capture everyone who you want to replace me with. So, of course, that means Adrian and Julica's mom. And she doesn't stop there. Like, she just captures everyone she sees. Adrian doesn't get captured. He actually gets intertwined with Luca. Marinette goes off by herself. She's like, oh, man, why did I choose Adrian? Like, that made no sense. It's kind of hinting that she's just upset about it because it put a target on Adrian's back. But really, it should be that Adrian wasn't the proper choice. He doesn't know how to play guitar. Luca's right there. He's a really good guitarist. And Tiki's like, oh, you have a troubled heart, Marinette. And I'm just like, fine, whatever. Like, I think that's a really dumb explanation, but whatever. Marinette turns into Ladybug. Adrian's having a hard time turning Cat Noir because Luca is helping him escape. Luca decides to distract Desperada by playing guitar, and now she put the target on his back too because she sees he has a guitar, and she's like, oh no, another guitarist is trying to replace me. So now she's after both Adrian and Luca, but that distraction helps Ladybug get rid of Desperada just for a moment. And Ladybug's yo-yo rope is so strong, it can crush a bridge by itself. I think that's the rope. I'm hoping they're not saying Ladybug has the strength to do that. Like, well, even if the rope is like tense enough, that would still be Ladybug's strength doing that. But I have a hard time believing Ladybug has super strength. But if you just watch that scene, like she slams the lady into the ground, which already causes like a slight crater, and then she crushes the bridge using just her rope. That's a little bit absurd. Like that seems to be beyond what we've been seeing capable of Ladybug. But as that distraction happens, they use that to hide from Desperada, and they go in the sewers, which apparently nobody ever checks the sewers because everyone who tries to hide goes in the sewers. But this episode turns out to be a good hiding spot because Desperada never goes into the sewers. Adrian and Luca hide in lockers. Adrian pretends to hide in the locker, and then he turns into Cat Noir. Ladybug does her lucky charm, and she gets a gong. It tells her to go to Master Fu. We all know I hate that. But she goes to Master Fu, and he's like, hey, choose a Miraculous. And she chooses the Snake Miraculous. And it says, oh, you need somebody really wise. It gives you the power of second chance. You need somebody really wise to use it. And she's like, oh, Adrian is on the scene. I can't believe I'd never thought of this. I'll give Adrian a Miraculous. Of course, she never says his name out loud, but she decides to do that. Because if she said his name out loud, Fu and Tiki would be like, that's probably not a good idea. But anyway, she goes back. She finds Cat Noir, and she's like, hey, we got to give somebody the Snake Miraculous. I choose Adrian. Cat Noir does something I really like. He says he can track Adrian. He tracks to where he last was as Adrian. I think it's a nice little detail. Though he kind of didn't have to do that. The reason they made him do it was so that Luca would know that Ladybug and Cat Noir were down there. But I just really liked it because I thought it was really clever of him to do that. So Cat Noir turns back into Adrian. He's super excited because Ladybug wants him as Adrian. She doesn't want Cat Noir. So he's like, oh, this is a chance for me to really help her out. And Plague's like, this is not a good idea. You are Cat Noir. You're supposed to be Cat Noir. You can't help her out as both Cat Noir and whatever other superhero you're going to be. Plague is obviously going to be right in this episode, but I don't know if he deserved to be right. But anyway, so Adrian shows up in front of Ladybug and she's like, hey, here's the power of the snake. It gives you the power of second chance. And I'm just really super curious. I mean, I obviously know where the show is going because they've hinted at it so much. They're going to give the snake Miraculous to Luca. But they give it to Adrian and awful. I have never, this show made me hate everything about a Miraculous. I couldn't believe how much I hated it. Scale Slither, I mean, at least it's Scales, but Slither, I don't know. The transformation sequence, the costume though, oh, that is a awful costume. I hate that costume so much. And then Marinette's like, okay, so here's your power. On your bracelet, which I don't like it when they don't use their weapon for their power, but Cat Noir doesn't use his weapon for his power, so it's not inconsistent. But they're like, on your bracelet, you do a second chance, you get 5 minutes, and within those 5 minutes, you can rewind time an unlimited amount of times to try to solve the situation. I had a fit when I first heard about the Lucky Charm because I was like, that is the most overpowered thing I've ever heard of for a superpower. This is almost just as bad. Like, think about any video game you've ever played. Like, any video game you've ever played and beaten. More than likely, you didn't beat that video game on the first try. Why were you able to beat that video game? Because you could start over. When you failed, you're allowed a second chance. That's why you win any video game. With the ability to start over an unlimited amount of times, there is absolutely no way someone shouldn't be able to solve their problem. But the show is going to test my patience on that because Adrian goes through a bunch of different scenarios and he can't solve the problem. They say he literally spends months trying to solve this problem and he can't do it. The episode's trying to say that he's so infatuated with Ladybug that he can't focus properly. And I'm like, really? He spent months and he couldn't not focus on Ladybug? That doesn't seem right to me, especially someone with Adrian's brains. Adrian is pretty smart and at times he can be pretty clever as well. So it really didn't sit right with me that they said he was trying for months and he couldn't get that down. Also, that would be very traumatic for somebody to try something for months and months and months and be stuck in a time loop like that. But yeah, so Adrian comes to the conclusion that he'd be a bad snake Miraculous dude. And then Luca runs up.
Who could possibly wear this Miraculous besides you?
Ladybug? Oh, I see you found Adrian.
Excuse me. Adrian has been trying this for months. For what? I think he said he tried like 400,000 times or something like that. He tried so many times. Nothing changes unless Adrian changes it. That's how the whole time thing works. You're going back in time. Why did only now Luca run up to them? He didn't do that in any of the other times that Adrian was being the superhero. Like, that's very inconsistent. That's a huge flaw right there. The fact that freaking Luca decides to run up to them after Adrian takes off the Miraculous. Like, I think he also came from the wrong direction too, because he was hiding the other way. But yeah, so Adrian's like, hey, give it to Luca. And Marinette's like, why? And I don't know if Adrian gives a good reason. It's literally just, he's the only other person here and I'm not good at it. So that's how Luca by default gets the snake Miraculous. I forget his superhero name. I also hate his costume, not as much as Adrian's, but I hate his costume as well. And I always hate when they do this, when they're trying to do, I know that's like a real life fighting style technique, but I always hate when they do that to mimic a snake. But yeah, so Cat Noir shows up. Cat Noir shows up, and they're like, "Oh, good, Cat Noir's here. Now we can actually, like, our team needs him." So they're trying to reinforce that Ladybug needs Cat Noir, and I'm pretty happy when they do that. I know it's somewhat inconsistent with the show, but at least they're trying. So the secret weapon that they were missing was kind of Cat Noir, because Cat Noir could destroy what Desperada was hiding on top of, and knock her off. She was on top of the Eiffel Tower. So they go up, and whatever his name is, Snake Miraculous dude, does his second chance. And this supervillain, for some reason, continues to own Ladybug and Cat Noir. Like, this is the most competent supervillain ever, apparently. That they need so many second chances to do this. Luca eventually figures out that she's distracted by guitar or chord, not necessarily. He has a harp, by the way. I didn't mention that. Something else I neglected to mention. Why is his costume so similar to Adrian's? Like, the whole Miraculous is supposed to look within your heart and find the perfect costume that you would like. His Adrian, I think the only difference was that Adrian had a mask, like a full-on head mask, whereas Luca just had a face mask. But anyway, he figures out that the Desperada is distracted by strings, so he uses that to distract her. Ladybug already did the Lucky Charm earlier, but they use it to, like, capture her and whatnot, yada yada yada, and they do the pound it. The episode ends. Luca gives back his Lucky Charm, his Miraculous, and the episode ends with all the girls on the boat with the guys, and Jagged Stone apologizes to the guitarist because kid show, and freaking what's her name? Well, Kagami, that's her name. Kagami is like, "Oh, I guess I was wrong about you being Luca's girlfriend." And I was like, I thought that was a power play. Like, you honestly thought she was his girlfriend? And freaking Kagami says, "Hey, you don't get a second chance at love, so you better hurry up and choose." And Alia says this.
Well, Adrian and Luca can choose too, right? And they haven't made their choice yet either.
Alia, I think you forgot the episode where Luca confessed to Marinette. So I'm pretty sure he did make his choice. Like, I'm pretty sure that happened. And Adrian went on a date with Kagami already. So you can't say he officially made a choice, but he's heavily leaning on Kagami more than he is Marinette. So that line, no, they tried to make that sound so wise, but no, it didn't. And that's the end of the episode. The episode itself is kind of fun. You know, the concepts are kind of fun, but just the precedent that it sets was annoying. I don't like this snake. First of all, I don't like that there's a sixth Miraculous hero. I feel like the Sailor Scouts haven't had enough screen time for them to do that. And they keep introducing more and more elements without giving the current elements they have enough time to be elements. We still haven't seen all the power-ups. And we haven't seen the Sailor Scouts with their power-ups. Like, they have so much they could work with, and they keep wanting to introduce new stuff. So I don't like that there's a sixth Miraculous hero. And somebody spoiled it for me, so I already know there's going to be more. And I don't like the whole Snake Miraculous concept as a whole. I don't like how he looks, and I absolutely detest his power. It is such a broken power. Not as broken as the Lucky Charm. I still hate the Lucky Charm. But that freaking the ability to rewind time as many times as you want. Like, at least with, like, the character Echo in League of Legends, he has that same power. At least with him, he maintains the damage he has when he rewinds time. So it's not completely like, oh, you can completely win every situation. He can get damaged enough that rewinding time still hurts him. Or that rewinding time isn't an instant win, I should say. And somebody might argue, like, well, after, like, if he rewinds time at the wrong time, you don't get a bad spawn start, basically, a bad save state. Or if he waits too long to do it, he won't be able to rewind time enough. But No, that's not enough of a weakness for that not to be extremely broken. So I'm not 100% how I feel about this. I feel like it's more negative than it is positive. You'll editing Shady Doorags will let you guys know when you see the like bar. But yeah, so that's that episode. And I'll see you guys in the next one. This has been Shady Doorags. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.